Hello everyone, welcome back to Fix the Family. My name is Raylan Alama and we are bringing you truth without compromise for the family. This is our blog edition. We're starting a brand new series today. It's called Decadence Alive, a bit of an enigma, kind of an ambiguous term because something that is in decay is rotting. It's just decomposing. How could it be alive? Well, we live in a time of moral decay, I hear. A lot of people saying that. You know, the morals of today can't seem to get much worse. How is it alive? It's active. It's around us. It's around us. And this is the environment that we live in. This is the environment that we go out into day in and day out. How do we stay clean? How do we stay alive? Well, this series is here to tell you that by living the Catholic moral law, you can sustain, you can remain, you can thrive in the world today by living the Catholic moral law. Not only that, can you sustain yourself, but you can be a light to a very dark world. And that's what we're called to be by order of our confirmation. That's what we're supposed to do out in the world. We're supposed to be the salt of the earth, bring light to the world. And that's what we're going to talk about in this series. Let's get started with number one that's very prominent in our culture today is premarital sex. You know, and sex in itself is not evil. Sex is actually a wonderfully good thing that God has given to married couples. Men and women only married in the permanent state of a marriage. Those are the people who should be participating in the sexual act. Not only that, that sexual act in the context of marriage between a man and a woman, I got to say that now, should always be unitive and procreative. The church teaches us. Church teaching, church law. What does that mean? It should be out of love and always open to life. And this is the beauty of a marriage. That act is so powerful and beautiful. The love between husband and wife is so powerful that it ends up with a name in the form of another human being, another soul coming into the world. That's the purpose of the sex act. But because of moral decay in our world, in our culture, it perverts the act. The evil is in the context in which it is done. So extramarital sex is evil, sex outside of marriage. Adultery and fornication. These are mentioned in the Scriptures, and Christ condemns them in the Gospels. So we are to avoid those particular acts. Now, they are mortal sins, they are evil. But in addition to that, they have the natural consequences whenever these things happen, whenever these acts are perpetrated outside of marriage. I got some statistics to show some of the decay. Let's look at the CDC to start with. CDC.gov, our good government Center for Disease Control. Okay, here's some statistics, because I want to focus on young people first. Teens. High school students surveyed 2011. 47.4 had already engaged in sexual intercourse in high school. 47.4%. Half of the 19 million new sexually transmitted diseases each year are among people aged 15 to 24. 400,000 teen girls aged 15 to 19 years gave birth 2009. That compliments of our Centers for Disease Control, CDC.gov, if you want to check it yourself. Another site here, we got the Guttmacher Institute. Guttmacher Institute tells us that the most common reason, it's important for us to know as dads, the most important reason that sexually inexperienced teens gave for not having sex was it was against their religion and morals. So that's something for us to pay attention to. But let's look at some other statistics here. Although 15 to 24-year-olds represent only 1/4 of sexually active population, they account for nearly half. 9.1 million of the 18.9 million new cases of STIs each year, sexually transmitted infections. Pregnancy. Each year, almost 750,000 U.S. women aged 15 to 19 become pregnant. 10% of all U.S. births, 10% of all U.S. births are to girls aged 19 and younger. So this is the climate that we live in right now. So if we disobey God's law, God's will, we're going to have the natural consequences that go along with it. I want to direct, as I was saying, we can bring the light to the world. I want to direct what we're going to talk about here in fixing this to in the direction of young ladies. Because I've heard many wise men, and if we just look at history, we can see that this is true. I've heard several wise men say that the females are the moral thermostats of a culture. You know, when we can teach the ladies and the girls to say no, then the men will abide. You know, and so they only rise up to the moral level that the women and the girls are. So pretty much whatever the girls will allow, the boys will let go. The young men will let go. So how do we implement this? How do we make this change? Dads, we have to form our daughters in that way. And not at the point where she's ready to become sexually active or when she matures. But it has to start at a very young age. And this is why we focus so much here on the husband as the leader of the family and the wife, according to Scripture, that she be submissive to her husband. Because the rubber meets the road whenever they become teens, whether it be boys or girls. And I'm not exempting the boys either. They also need to be formed to control themselves and to respect girls and respect women. But again, the girls pretty much set the bar. It's just the way it is, the way it has always been. Now, we can do this. We can form our daughters properly so that they will not get involved in these things. And what happens, though, is that whenever the wife is not submissive, then she won't see anything wrong with the daughter dressing in an immodest way. She'll think she's pretty. Well, she looks like me, after all, the mom will say. And she's trying to live her life through her daughter. Look how beautiful she is. Although it's not pretty, because boys and men are lusting over her because of the way she's dressed or the things she's doing or the way she carries herself. What's the message by the way she looks, by the way she dressed, that she's presenting to the world? The men know because we're wired to see it that way. So dads, it's our responsibility if our daughters decide to act or dress in a certain way to correct that. And to follow the church's teaching on the near occasions of sin. Don't allow them to place themselves into situations where they will get into trouble. Right now, the springtime, I'm seeing a lot of prom pictures out there of girls dressed totally inappropriately. Totally. Strapless gowns, all sorts of body parts exposed that no one should ever see except until somebody is married. I don't know how Catholics can allow for this kind of thing. Dads, it's our jobs to limit this, to not allow it, to make sure that they are dressed properly. The whole thing of proms and dances just befuddles me to no end. Why place them in that situation, in that kind of a close situation where some bad things are bound to happen. How do they court? How do they date? Do they go off in a car alone by themselves? I've heard of a lot of parents who will send a brother or sister along with them just to make sure everything's done right. Another good courting example I remember Steve Wood bringing up is to have those that are courting to come to the house. Instead of them leaving off and going somewhere, have place for them at the house to be able to visit and to get to know each other and have those who are courting to learn and meet the family. This is the proper way and safe way to have children courting, older children courting, only at the point when they are ready to get married. You know, if they are not ready to get married, there's no reason for them to be even dating. Okay, so these are the things that will put an end to the sexual promiscuity that's out in the world, or will at least save our own children from it. And that's our responsibility. We are to keep our children out of mortal sin. Do we care about the salvation of our children's souls? That's what we have been placed in charge of, and the responsibility we have as dads, men. Okay, so take these things to heart. Start implementing them in your family. This is the moral decay that is out in our world and surrounding our children that we need to be cautious of and that we need to protect our children from. Decadence Alive. Come back here at Fix the Family for more in our blog series. My name is Raylan Alamo. God bless you.